It is such a pleasure to be here with you all today. Thank you so much for coming through the rain. But rain doesn't bother a Londoner. That's not a big... I'm from Chicago, by the way. I know hard weather. We say something... I have 3 kids. We say something at home often. I don't know if it plays here as well, but there's no bad weather, just bad clothes. I had bad clothes today, actually. I have to admit, I didn't actually come prepared. But we're all here, and this is wonderful. So picking up from where Pierre left off, about dreaming, I think it's such a fun topic because to dream big is exciting. And to do that in your personal life and to do that in your professional life and to try to bring those things together, I think can be incredibly inspiring. My professional dream is to do something of consequence, to lead a life of consequence, and to be part of something that impacts as many people as possible, as positively as possible. And so after more than 8 years of working at LinkedIn, the reason I'm still so engaged and so impassioned about what we do starts with our mission. What I hope to do in the next couple of minutes in talking with you is to provide you some context about us, how we think, how we make decisions, some insight into our company and our process so that we can become closer and that you can understand where we're coming from. As we understand you and what you need, you can understand how we do things, how we think, how we invest, how we try to bring product to market, and what impact we're trying to make on the world. And for us, it all starts with our mission, which is to connect the world's professionals to make them more productive and successful. Our mission is a true north. We use it in a genuine way every day. It's the meter stick by which we compare all of our thoughts and our actions. And our mission is nestled inside of a bigger idea, a bigger dream, and that's our vision. And our vision is to create this economic opportunity for every member of the global workforce, all 3 billion people. We believe that simply by having a free profile and connecting to those around you, reading articles, engaging with what your network shares, better economic opportunities can accrue to you. Your life can be better. And across the 380 million people who are part of LinkedIn right now, each one of us who works in the company can trace our work, what we do every day, back to a little bit of help in manifesting this mission and this vision. And this vision over the last couple of years has begun to take shape in a very practical way. It's not just a dream, and it's not just a kind of pie-in-the-sky aspiration. We've begun to manifest it in a structured way with a concept that we call the economic graph. I'm going to pause here a minute and talk about an economic graph, because sometimes I feel like when we're coming from Silicon Valley, we get a little caught up in our own stuff. We use words that don't mean anything out in the real world, like graph. What the heck does graph mean? So I'm going to pause. We're going to talk about this together. Because a graph is a term that's borrowed from mathematics and computer science, and it means something very specific. In a social context, you may have heard of it as a social graph. At LinkedIn, for many years, we talked about a professional graph. But specifically what a graph is, it's a description of a relationship between 2 things. Let's say for a minute, a node on a network, a point, that's connected by a line segment to another point. Now, if those individual points are people, if I'm one point and you're one point and we're connected, you've accepted a connection request from me, we're connected, and that's the beginning of a graph. If we then connect to another person and another person and another person, that 3-dimensional picture begins to form, and that's the actual digital artifact that's driving a lot of the platform, how LinkedIn works, how Facebook works, how many of the global social platforms work. Now, the big innovation that we had a couple of years ago was said, well, gosh, what if we thought about a graph in a broader way? What if a graph wasn't limited to only being people at the nodes? But what if we actually tried to graph all of the artifacts inside the global economy and literally create something where all the people in the world who work are members, all the companies in the world where those people work, all the jobs that those companies have, all the skills that are required to do those jobs, all the schools that exist where one can acquire those skills, and all the professional knowledge in the world. What if we could actually graph that? And then what if we could open it up to the world and allow people to benefit from it, to remove the natural friction that exists for human capital, intellectual capital, financial capital to flow around the world? that would be something worth working on. And so we're a couple years into manifesting this now. When we started, we just had a few 100,000 jobs on the site. Now we have millions. We only had about 1 million companies. Now we have many millions. You go down the list. And this is the blueprint from which we're working as a company. I share this so that you can forecast where we're going as a company. Because literally for the next 10 years, this is what we're working on. And as part of being able to really take advantage of this and ultimately to connect all of you to opportunity, we've been making very, very heavy technical investments in our infrastructure. Now, technical investments in infrastructure are not the things of main stage conversation, unless we're in a technical event, in which case we'd spend all of our time on that. And so over the last couple of years, we haven't talked about it a lot publicly. But now we're at the point where all of that investment is about to come to fruition with the things that you care about, the products and the features that come to life on the back of that massive technical investment. And so for the next few minutes, I wanted to share with you some of those things, these seeds that were planted, in some cases 2 years ago, in some case over the last year, that are just now starting to poke through the earth and that we're all going to be able to benefit from in the very near future. The first is an internal project that we call Project Voyager. This is a complete reimagination of the way that you will engage with LinkedIn on your mobile device. This is coming out very soon, and it has 5 important pieces to it. The first is home. This used to be everything that we did into a little tiny screen, and now it's really just the pieces that you need. The next is about me. And when I say me, I really mean my boss, Jeff. If you look closely here, I took his phone for this because I figured, I don't know if everyone has had the opportunity to scroll through the CEO of a publicly traded Silicon Valley company before, but I have, and it's kind of interesting what's on there, and I thought you might enjoy this. This is Jeff's actual phone. This is Jeff's actual LinkedIn experience. So for the next few slides, you'll see some of the things that he's really talking about. First is he has a lot of followers, like a lot of followers. That's 3 million and change, something we can all aspire to. But this is where you can manage your identity on LinkedIn. Next is messaging. Because for many people, email is not something that they want to engage with anymore. Depending upon the part of the world you live in and the generation that you're in, messaging is a much more native way to communicate. So LinkedIn is joining that revolution, and we'll have messaging here. This is actually Jeff's prep for a speech that he gave recently. My network. This is where I can keep track of all the people who are important to me, what they're doing, engage with them, pay it forward into that network. And lastly, search, the core use case for LinkedIn. I've been critical, personally, of our search in the past. I love LinkedIn, but not every single thing we make every time works well for me. This search is killer. This is the search that I've always wanted LinkedIn to be. Search that understood who I was looking for before I was finished typing it. Search that was fast, no matter where I was. And I travel a lot. I don't always have a great Wi-Fi connection. This is the search that you've been waiting for. This is killer, killer search. And because we now have a number of different apps, you'll see a new icon, these 9 small boxes. That's an app launcher. And this will allow you to navigate through all of the assets that you use with LinkedIn. Because some of these apps that are coming, and some that have been recently released, are really, really worth your investment. I'm going to focus on 2. These are 2 of my personal favorites. So the first is called Lookup. Now, Lookup was very recently launched. I don't know how many people here have it. It's a free app. I would strongly encourage you, before you leave the conference, to go onto the App Store and get this app. What Lookup does is very straightforward and very simple. It's actually part of a new generation of apps that we're building that have a very narrow use case that we're attempting to deliver in an incredibly simple and intuitive way. The signal that we got from the world was that out of the billions of people searches that happen every year, if you're in a company of above a few hundred employees, a quarter of those people search happen for your colleagues. You're in a company, but you go to a public website to find out information on your colleague. Around the world, this is true. What this tells us is that internal intranets aren't as effective as they can be. And so we realize that now that we have so much penetration of membership inside of most of your companies, we could actually deliver some value back to you simply by giving you the ability in an easy way to find, locate, and contact your colleagues. So that's what Lookup does. And so I strongly encourage you to, I bet actually if you all downloaded it right now, I won't be offended if you took out your phone, if you did it right now. Usually if I'm speaking and you're on your phone, I'm like, am I bad? Is it not going well? But if you did it right now, it would be great, and you would get the benefit of it later. So that's Lookup. The next app I wanted to focus on, similarly, is simple, it's intuitive, and it's so easy to engage with. This is called Elevate. Elevate is an opportunity for a company to unleash their employees, to empower them to become social professionals. So many of us feel great pride in the companies that we work for, and we want to share content, but we're frankly not sure. Should I be sharing this? Do I get in trouble for sharing this? Do I get rewarded for sharing this? It's not clear what we should share, what the rules are. Elevate is a way for a company and their employees to collaborate on accessing those employees' networks through authentic decisions to share content that employee finds compelling, but that is curated by people you choose in your company. So it's an incredible way for a small group of people to help a large group of employees just unleash all that pride they feel, all that love they feel for your company. So now I want to take the idea of innovation a little closer to home, a little closer to the things that we all in this room do every day. And that's talk about jobs. In the last year, we did a tremendous amount of global research on what you wanted from us in terms of more development in jobs. And we found a very clear signal. There was two big things. The first was maintain or improve the quality of the candidate that applies. That was a strong signal. Message landed. The second one was, as long as that quality bar is high, I want more candidates. Now, we heard, I won't take more candidates if the quality bar lower, so it can't be one without the other. Quality first, and then more quantity. And so we had very heavy investment in this in the last year, and I'm very happy to report that applications on LinkedIn have grown more than 70% year over year. We're driving more than 70% more applications to you than we were this time last year. This is the direct result of very specific investments we've made, so thank you so much for the feedback that guided us on where we should focus. We also learned, however, that there was more that we could do for the candidate in this job experience. As part of this research, we spent a lot of time with candidates, and what we heard from them was that the job experience right now can feel sterile and cold and a bit inhuman. Job descriptions are great at describing the job. And with our head, sometimes that makes sense, but with our heart, it often misses. And I don't know about you, but I feel a lot about my job. As I mentioned, I feel passionate about my job, but it's not about the bullet points that describe the what I do. For me, and for many people, it has a lot about with whom I do it. For many candidates, that idea of the humanity of the job is important. And so we're going to put the human back into jobs. We're going to remember that, for me, working with Zoe, working through a hard problem together, that's what I think about. Dan Shapiro, who many of you may know, I don't know why he dresses like this. I really don't. He loves it. He thinks this is a LinkedIn jacket on the back. It lights up. The guy loves this. Dan, if you're watching, I don't know. But I love him. He was one of my first hires almost 8 years ago. And when I think about work, I think about Dan. When I think about work, I think about Marcella. I think about the good times we have after a client event. I think about the humanity about my work. We want to put this humanity back into the job search experience. We have the assets to do this, so we are completely redesigning what it means to have a job on LinkedIn. This is a look at what things will look like. This is not just a more visually attractive, I hope you'll agree, more visually attractive job setup where you have the opportunity to be creative, to use images from your career page. But more importantly, we're going to highlight the human aspects of this. We're going to show you, as a candidate, that you have connections who work at this company. It's a huge step forward. We're going to show you that this company has hired people from your university. There's a history of hiring people like you who went to school there. And perhaps most interestingly on the human side, we're going to let you meet your future team. this is kind of novel. You know, when you're thinking about a company, it's not just the company, not just the job, not just the hiring manager who you will certainly meet in the interview panel, but we're going to show you the people who have the similar or same job title as you would have in this location, so you can get a look at your teammates. You may find people that are just like you, and that may make you feel, I can get this job. You may also find people that are not at all like you, and you may be attracted to that idea of a diverse team and adding something complementary to it. But bringing the humanity back into the job, allowing you further to take assets from your career page, show videos of your people, bring this to life. This is where the jobs page is going. And in this exploration, we learn even more about the candidate experience and even more about what many of you wanted from us, which was something I'm going to get to in a second. I want to tell you a little bit about how we build product. That's what this green button's about. Sometimes we sit back with a whiteboard. We don't always have a fancy, deck with a green button, but we sit back with a whiteboard and we say at the very beginning of a product building process, if this product could do anything, if there was a magical button that we could push, and whatever you wrote on that button would happen, what would you write on that button? What would you write on your button? I would write one more day. When I'm on vacation, it's like the second to last day of vacation, I'd hit that button, one more day. If it's a Sunday, I'm not quite done with my weekend, one more day. Or your big assignment is due, been working on a project, rather than stay up all night, one more day. You get the hang of it. This is something that is good. Any parents in the room? As I mentioned, I have 3 small children. I bring them around the world with me. They're here in London today. Sometimes when we travel and there's jet lag involved, go to sleep. Please, for the love of God, go to sleep. 8, 6, and 1, jet lag, hotel room, very intimate. Go to sleep. So this is the concept that we use. So now if we take that concept and we apply it to a candidate, and we apply it to that idea of trying to build a relationship between you and the people on LinkedIn who want to talk to you, who need your help, who need your guidance, who want exposure to your opportunities, what would that button say? Well, that button might say, I'm ready for something new. This is something that's coming on LinkedIn. How many people in this room are ready for something new? A new employer. You're very bold. Not very many of you. Oh, everyone's like, oh, whoa. I thought he meant the button, which I love, but no, my boss is next to me, not. That's why this is going to be private and not on the profile. This is like a secret between LinkedIn and the candidate that we will manifest to you, but this is not going to be on their profile. Just like all of you, private, button, private. But this is really coming, and what this means is we're going to be able to surface for you those people who are ready for something new, who are thinking about, they're open to a relocation. They're ready maybe for temporary work or a different function, something that may not be explicitly obvious exclusively from their profile data. But we're going to give our members for the first time an opportunity to express themselves explicitly and say, I'm ready for something new. It might be in Singapore. I'm ready for something new. I've always wanted to try sales. Whatever that is, you're going to be able to engage with those people. And we believe this is going to be the beginning of a very different kind of relationship between the employers in the world and our members and the matches that we can make. So one last thought before I transition. We noticed our members who were applying to jobs over the years oftentimes didn't have the skills that they needed to fulfill the requirements of the job that they were applying for. This is a large global problem. This isn't a micro thing with one candidate. This is sometimes discussed as a skills gap. Depending upon the country in which you live, this is a greater or lesser problem, but this is a global phenomenon right now. And as a company who's interested in helping members around the world live their aspirational life, achieve their professional goals, understanding that gap is incredibly important to us. And if you go back to that economic graph idea, and you think about that spot for skills, that spot for knowledge, we realized that we had an opportunity as a company to go further in the economic graph. We have an excellent understanding of who you are and what you've done. Increasingly, we're going to solicit from you explicitly what you might want to do if you're ready for something new. But now, this year, through the acquisition of Lynda.com, we're ready to help our members attain the skills that they need to live that aspirational life that they've always dreamed of for themselves.